Lower the sound first, please.
Do one more verse. Jaya Radha Madhava Gadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki
Jai.
Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ki
Jai.
Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki
Jai.
Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki
Jai.
Shri Krishna Harinam Sankirtan Ki
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Harinam Sankirtan Ki
Jai.
Go Premanande, all glories to the assembled devotees,
Hare
all
Krishna.
glories to the assembled
Hare
devotees,
Krishna.
all glories to the assembled
Hare
devotees,
Krishna.
all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Shri Does everyone know the words to the song we just sang? Does everyone know what they mean? Jai Radha Madhava Kunjavihari. You know that song? You know it? You know it? So it's a nice song. Madhava is the name of Krishna. So Radha and Krishna in Kunjavihari in Vrindavan, on the banks of Vrindavan. So it's a song about Krishna, but always when we sing about Krishna, Krishna likes to see his devotees glorified. He prefers to see his devotees glorified. So this song is glorifying him and his devotees. So it says Gopi Jana Vallabha, which means Krishna is the lover of the gopis. So Krishna, actually the gopis capture Krishna's heart, but Krishna also captures their heart, and he is the lover of devotees. And it's important because in some philosophy people say we're all God sometimes. So this idea that, you're God, I'm God, we're all one, everything is the same. This is not accepted in the Vedanta, really, not the end of the knowledge of the Vedas. And we see this Gopi Jana Vallabha, so this lover of the gopis, this is something people like to think, oh, I can also be God, I can be the beloved of the gopis. But immediately afterwards it says Giri Varadari, which means he lifts the Govardhan hill, Giri, the hill, on his finger, on his left hand, his little finger, I think, sometimes it says. So it means God is someone who can lift a mountain on his finger, So if you want to be Gopi Jana Vallabha, you have to also be Giri Varadari. So it's funny how they're both put together like that. And then Yashoda is Mother Yashoda, so it's Krishna's Yashoda and Ananda. So it's describing how Krishna has a relationship with Mother Yashoda, with Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. Anyway, it's a beautiful song. Prabhupada sang it before every time he gave class. Many times you hear him singing that. So it's beautiful. So I was going to read from the Bhagavad Gita. I guess mostly you read from the Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? So I picked a verse from the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. If I can find it now. So is everyone familiar with the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita? You know how familiar are you with the Bhagavad Gita? Are you quite familiar? Or? Today I think there's less people because of St. Patrick's Day, isn't it?
Today I heard now they will be coming out.
Oh, thank you.
Haribo.
So I might need to read the verse again when the others come, but I was going to read the 9th verse of the 4th chapter. And actually there's 3 or 4 verses together in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that explain Krishna's appearance in this world. And it's very important to understand this. Even as devotees, it's very, very important that we understand this point, because the whole principle of Bhakti Yoga is based on this understanding of the goal of Bhakti Yoga. What is the goal of Bhakti Yoga, So the goal of Bhakti Yoga is to remember Krishna. That is the goal. So we can, in the practice of Bhakti Yoga, we practice, we might read a book about Krishna, we might see a picture of Krishna, we might sing a song about Krishna, we taste prasadam offered to Krishna. These are the processes for obtaining the goal, which is to remember Krishna. So yesterday I had to go and spend time with my father. He's not well. But if I think of my father, and it's a material relationship, I think of him. I can remember conversations that I had with him. I can remember, what he looks like from any angle. If I see him from behind, I still recognize he's my father. If I hear his voice, I recognize it. And that's just a material relationship. That's a sort of temporary relationship, maybe lasting 60 years, maybe, hopefully, 50 years, whatever, that relationship. But our relationship with Krishna is eternal, and it's much closer. It's much more personal, our relationship with Krishna. So we should never lose track. Our goal is not to, it's not a kanishta. You know what kanishta means? Kanishta? So kanishta means like the external. So there's three, sometimes people describe as levels of Krishna consciousness or processes. There's kanishta, there's madhyam, and there's uttama. So kanishta means the external. We see it externally, So we see the clothes we wear, or we see the deities. We understand the deities as representing Krishna. So we see the deities, but we don't. But madhyam is the next level. The madhyam is something. They can see the devotees of Krishna. They can see those who love Krishna. They can see people who are innocent, people who are looking to try to be demons, and they're able to distinguish. And so on the Madhyam platform, it said even a devotee might be doing puja, and another devotee visits the temple and they stop the puja to go to serve the devotee because they see the importance. They see the importance of the devotee. That's the level of Madhyam. They see what it means to be a devotee, and how because the devotee is so dear to Krishna, therefore we really, from Krishna's point of view, the devotee is as important as himself, really, his devotee. So, and because it's his point of view, then we have to see that point of view. So, and in these verses, it describes what is a devotee, really, and what it is that we're aspiring to be as devotees. So there's 3 levels of spiritual life that we can achieve: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti. So do you know those distinctions? So Brahmeti is the energy of Krishna.
Yeah.
So Krishna has energy. Actually, it describes in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, it describes there's even a level lower than Brahmeti. There's a level lower. And this is Prakriti, what's it called? Mahaprakriti. I'm not sure the exact name, but it means like the nature, the material energy of God. So, in some sense, when we're in this material world, we come here because we want to be God. That's why we come here. God means the controller. We can see we are trying to become masters. That's why we've come to this world, is to try to be masters. I'm purposely waiting to read the verse because usually you just finish reading and everyone appears, But so I just speak a little bit. But our goal is, why we've come into this world is to be masters. That's why we're here. So that's why when we go to university, we study a master's, or we everything we do is to try to become masters of this material energy. It is our temporary nature, I guess, is to try to compete with Krishna, But because Krishna is everything and Krishna is everywhere, it's not possible for us to become the center of the universe. It's not possible because Krishna is in the center of the universe. Everything's coming from him. But yet we want to be separate. We want to be God. We want to be in that position. And so Krishna is very kind. It's like if you love somebody, if you really love somebody, you let them be free. It has to be choice. It has to be freedom. It has to be, sometimes people will control people, or even you find weird things where people lock people up in a basement or something and keep them there, and then they say this is love. I love that person so much, but that's not love. We know it's definitely not love. So, but Krishna does love us very much, and therefore he gives us the freedom. So in order to be separate from Krishna, there has to be illusion. There has to be an illusion. The reality, Krishna is everywhere. Krishna is the center. He comes as Paramatma. He expands himself first as Sankarshan, as Balaram first, and then Sankarshan, and then Sankarshan expands, and he expands as Paramatma, and he lies down on first as Karuna Daksha Vishnu, isn't it? Yeah. And then Karuna Daksha Vishnu expands as Paramatma into everybody, into each universe.
Yeah.
As Shira Daksha Vishnu.
Garbha Daksha Vishnu.
Garbha Daksha, thank you. Garbha Daksha Vishnu. And then Shira Daksha Vishnu is in every atom. Not only in every person, but in every atom. So in our heart, Krishna is there, fully, as Paramatma, and fully present. And similarly, in every atom, Krishna is there, as in every atom, fully present. And that's why this is what we're imitating, because here we imitate Krishna. So when we invent the World Wide Web, the internet, this is an imitation of Paramatma. It's not a very good imitation, but it's an imitation. So this imitation is such that we're trying to connect everybody. We're trying to be connected, but we're already connected with Paramatma. So our understanding, if you see, once you try to practice spiritual life, things happen. It's like, in the West they call it serendipity. Isn't that the word they use? Serendipity. So it means that just suddenly, like, arrangements appear, or things happen, or someone that we meet the right person, or we're looking and we find someone that we need to find, or, it's amazing, like, how connected we all are in our hearts, but we've forgotten. So they call it sometimes conscience. People have a conscience. You look at when a baby is born, they immediately know to take milk. You look around, if you look around in nature, apart from human interference in nature, but in general in nature, there are billions of living entities, trillions of living entities, and you don't see them starving. You don't see any of them starving, unless humans intervene and then create a mess, and then you get all sorts of. But in general, in nature, they need what they need is supplied. Everything is connected like that. It would be the idea that there's nothing in control of the energy is just not what we see. We see control everywhere. We see arrangements, massive arrangements. We think there's no controller because we don't understand what the arrangement is. It's like if I arrange something, I can tell you what the arrangement is. But if I didn't arrange it, and then I look at it and go, that's a terrible arrangement, it doesn't do what I want it to do. Therefore there's no one made it, it's just a random, But actually the arrangement is given by, it's a perfect arrangement. And we see this in the Shri-Upanishad, in the invocation to the Shri-Upanishad. We see this as described, Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purna eva vishishyate. This Om, this is described, actually Krishna says, I am Om, of syllables I am Om in the Bhagavad Gita. So Om Purnam, this Krishna, this Supreme Personality of God is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations coming from him are perfectly equipped as complete units, complete whole. And even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the perfect balance. So this is quite amazing. It's like we look around and we see, I mean, if anyone looks at what's happening in Gaza, or we look at what's happening in most of the world now, there's so much suffering, so much suffering. So how is this perfect, you know? And it's because we don't understand the arrangement. We don't realize what the arrangement is. We're seeing from a conditioned point of view, you know? It's like if you go into a movie or watch a movie and it's a horror movie or something and you're scared stiff, you know? I hate the idea of horror movies, I hate them. Like, but you're petrified, you know? And then, because you're absorbed in it, you think it's real and you're in the, and you could be saying, what is this crazy director? Why is he directing this, you know? And he's causing me so much suffering, you know? But we don't know what the arrangement is. What was the purpose of that arrangement? Now, a director has a messed up purpose, you know, but Krishna's purpose is amazing, you know? It's perfect. So when we see Krishna as the director, we see the purpose is perfect. And that purpose is to get us to remember who we are without taking away our choice. You know, without taking away our choice. So we would stay here for eternity, really, if it were up to us, because this material world it's a perfect arrangement, you know, and it's like a prison. Many times it's described like a prison house, isn't it? It's described like a prison. So we're trying to be rebellious, we want to be. So it's not like a prison like we see here where someone is being punished, but it's more like, yes, you have the freedom, so go and have the freedom. And actually we're considered to be eternally conditioned by this nature. We can't get out, we can't break free. So Krishna says to break free, we look for someone who is Tadvidi Pranipa Sena Pranipa Sena Sevaya Upadesyanti Teganam Gyani Nas Tadvadarshana. So just search for someone who has that knowledge. So we're looking for someone who is a devotee. And that person then can free us by that knowledge. So who is a devotee? That's what's described in these verses that I'm going to read. And it's probably just us anyway, so I'll read it. But the point is there's always choice. It's our journey, you know. And so Brahmeti, Krishna has an effulgence. Sometimes, you know, if we're a little tuned in, when somebody walks into the room, we feel their presence, isn't it? We feel their energy. Sometimes in the West they call it an aura. I don't know, maybe that comes from the East, I don't know that word, but we see, somebody has an energy. When they come in, you feel their presence. And Krishna's energy is unlimited. His effulgence is unlimited. And this is known as the Brahma Jyoti. So it's up to us. If that's what we feel like, you know, the first step in spiritual life is to realize that we're not God. You know, that's the first stage. We're not the center of everything. You know, it's not us. It's not me. You know, after so many lifetimes of trying to be the center and be God and everything else, it's a big change. You know, I'm not God. Like, that's a big step. And there's even a lower level of realization, which I tried to remember the name of. Maha Sankarshan, is it? What's this material form? What's the name? Mahatattva, no. Maybe it's Mahatattva, maybe. Anyway, it's the form that Arjuna saw on the battlefield of Kurukshetra when he wanted to see the universal form.
Virat Rupa? Virat Rupa.
Virat Rupa. Yeah.
Vishwarupa, yeah.
Vishvarupa. So it's the external, it's not real actually. And it's real in that but it's material energy. It's the material form. And sometimes people begin their spiritual life by focusing on like Aborigines will sometimes living near a mountain, they will see the mountain like a deity, because it's bigger than them, and it's greater than them, and it provides them shelter and gives them herbs, and so many things come from the mountain, so they worship the mountain. And that's the beginning, that's a genuine beginning of spiritual life, because it's like you're saying something is better than you, and you're respecting something. Over here we would laugh at that, but actually it's much more advanced than a lot of so-called civilized people, so that's the first step, and then higher than that is beyond, is Paramatma, is the energy coming from God. So sometimes we want to worship the energy of God, and as Vaishnavas, or as aspiring Vaishnavas I should say, we would see that as not really high enough, because it's like if I went to your house and I made a cup of tea and had a sandwich or something and sat down, but I ignored you as if you weren't there. I might try to use your energy, but I forget that the person who owns the house is also there. So who is the owner of this house, this energy, this Brahma Jyoti? That's Krishna, but Krishna comes as Paramatma. So for us, the first level of spiritual life is Paramatma. We're actually praying to Paramatma more than to Krishna, and that Paramatma realization is extremely high level of realization, extremely high. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it describes the devotee as everywhere they look, they see millions of helmets and eyes, and they just see Vishnu everywhere. They're just like, wow, they just have this vision of Vishnu everywhere they're seeing. And this is what we're aspiring for. We have to remember what we're trying to, why are we doing this? Are we doing it because we want to be seen as devotees, or why are we practicing? Because we want the highest, whatever it is that brings us to Krishna, we should try and see why it's important. Why is it important for us? And not institutionally, not that we have to join an institution or something like that. It's not that. It's the process of getting from where we are to where we want to go. That process is Bhakti Yoga, and that's done by association. We choose, like they say, Prabhupada uses the example, birds of a feather flock together. So we choose no, it's okay. So we choose the association of those who are aspiring for something very high thing, and Prabhupada, sometimes he uses very funny examples. He says, he uses this hunting for the rhino. You think like, imagine a devotee using a term like that. It's an old English saying, hunt for the rhino, Like nowadays we wouldn't hunt for the rhino. Shyam Sundar Prabhu wrote a book called Hunting Rhinos with the Swami, wasn't it? Isn't that what it was? So, because Prabhupada is an old English term that if you go out hunting and you say, okay, I'm going to hunt for the rhino, everyone's like, well, really impressed, And it's so hard to catch the rhino that even if you come back with something else, they'll still be impressed. At least you tried, At least you tried. We went hunting for the rhino, even though every time you don't come back, you don't achieve it. So that's a bit like what we're trying to do. We're trying to capture Krishna, which sounds strange. Prabhupada said that. Prabhupada gave this process, and he said during darshan in London, in front of Radha Londonishwar, Prabhupada said, I've captured Krishna with love. He said, now come and take, And actually he talks about this, the creeper of devotional service, going up, and eventually it will go to Vaikuntha, it will go into Vrindavan and wrap around Krishna's feet. That's how he describes. So by chanting, we're watering that creep. creeper. So it might be just a little creeper, but we were watering it by hearing, by reading. Everything we do, we're watering that creeper. So Paramatma is better than the internet, you know, because the thing with the internet is it's binary, isn't it? The internet is binary. So it's one or nothing, one or zero. So when they talk now about artificial intelligence, actually it's not artificial, it's artificial mind. If you understand, it's like a psychopath really in a way, you know? Because it's artificial mind, because mind is two things, accept or reject. That's the nature of the mind. I accept, I reject. And we see the fighting going on in the world. It's I reject you because of your nationality, I accept you because of your nationality, I reject you, I accept you, like this. Whereas the intelligence is three. The intelligence is three. There's, isn't it? The three. There's sattva gun, tama gun, raja gun. So sattva is goodness, tamas is ignorance, and rajas is passion. That's the intelligence. That's the basis of the intelligence. So if you were to make a computer which began the first as three, not two, then you would have artificial intelligence. But what we have, because it's two, is artificial mind. And you know, and the thing is, prana brings our intelligence up. If we have good prana, if we're breathing good air, eating good food, you know, breathing exercises, we can make the prana rise, and the intelligence comes up. Whereas, and it becomes, then we are led by intelligence. We become intelligent. And intelligence is from the heart, isn't it? Whereas the mind is, so the intelligence comes from the heart. So we react in goodness, we react in passion, we react in ignorance. That's how we react. Whereas the mind is coming, it's always just one or nothing. It's all or nothing, you know. And we need to sort of engage our intelligence in the practice of spiritual life. And this is known as Buddhi Yoga. So this is really what we're practicing is Buddhi Yoga, which is we're using our intelligence to ascertain, you know, like first of all we have to find the devotee, isn't it? Isn't it? Because Krishna says, you know, Tadvadi Prani, if I excuse my Sanskrit, Upadasyanti te gyaman gyaninas tattvadarshana. So just to try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. So how does he describe who a spiritual master is? Tattva darshana. Tattva means truth, darshana means having darshan, seeing the truth. So, you know, there's many levels of guru. You know, sometimes people call, like somebody who teaches music, they call a guru. So that's okay if you want to learn music. You know, whatever the person has, they can teach you. You know, if a person has, so you can have a guru who's kanishta, you know. You know what kanishta is like, just seeing externally, you know. Who's really good at puja, really everything is perfect, but it's all external. They're not relating to the personality of God. Or you can have the madhyam, or the uttama. The uttama is someone who's just so totally in love with Krishna. Generally, for most times, uttama, many times in Kali Yuga anyway, that's, if someone's going to imitate, they imitate uttama, you know. That's the one to imitate. It's like, oh, I love Krishna so much. I mean, I don't mean to be critical, but in the Bhagavatam it describes a whole religion which is based on imitation of uttama. Do you know what that one is?
Sahaja.
Sahaja, you said. Sahaja, yeah. Sahaja is someone who takes it cheaply, takes the process cheaply. But does anyone know the religion that is based on? The Jain, yeah. Jain religion. If you go back to the beginning of the Jain religion, it's what's the king that Krishna appears as a king? It's actually Bhagavan appearing. What's the king called? King. No, gosh, I'm going to say it wrong if I say it, I won't. He's a king who became so renounced in the end that he didn't even wear clothes. He just no. And he would even pass stool and urine on himself. But for 3 miles around, the smell was just so amazing. It was just like, whoa, this, like, no, not Jadbara, no.
Rishabdev.
Rishabdev, yes, yeah. So he would, like, if we passed stool, it's horrible, the worst smell, you know. But when he passed stool, it was because he was God. It was partly, you know, people were just this amazing smell that people were. So he was showing, Krishna has many opulences. Bhagavan means the possessor of all opulence, doesn't it? The person who possesses all opulence. So do you know what the opulences are? Does anyone want to list them? Krishna. So there's fame, strength,
courage,
beauty,
beauty,
renunciation,
yeah,
and there's another one, which knowledge. So in the West, when they talk about God, they talk about that He is Almighty, or even in all the Middle Eastern religions, they say God is Almighty. So that's the strength of God. But He's also all beautiful. He's all famous. So Rishabhadev, he showed the feature of God as all renounced, completely renounced. And it's impossible to imitate that. You can imitate, but if you imitate, you become a fool, you know, if you try to imitate that like that, you know. Just like when we sang Jaya Radha Madhava, you can imitate Gopi Jana Balabha, but you can't imitate Giri Varadari, you know. And so there was one guru, I can't remember who did imitate Rishabhadev, yeah. And then in his imitation, he began that religion, then came from that imitation. So anyway, I'm not, who am I to criticize it? I'm not criticizing. You know, we all come on our journey through many different experiences. Some of them are embarrassing, some of them are, you know, and then eventually, hopefully, we end up at the feet of the devotee of Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. So the devotee of Krishna is someone who is tattva darshana, someone who is seeing the truth. So in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a description of, do you want to take those chairs, one of those chairs off in case someone else wants it? There's a description of someone who's having darshan of Paramatma. And I explained it earlier on, I'll just repeat it for those who weren't here, but they're seeing Krishna's helmets everywhere. They're seeing eyes everywhere. They're seeing Vishnu, because Vishnu is in every atom, in every heart. Vishnu is there. The Paramatma realized person is seeing that, and it's just like, you know. So this is Paramatma realization. That's lower. That's not even Bhagavan realization. Bhagavan is even higher than that. He's outside of the material energy completely, you know. So what we are seeing is we're reading the books. So we're reading about Krishna, and some of us maybe from childhood we're hearing about Krishna. We're seeing the deity of Krishna, Hare Krishna. We're hearing, we're singing, everything we're doing about Krishna. So, but that is the process. That's not the goal. That's the process. The goal is to remember Krishna and to re-begin our relationship with Krishna. That is the goal. That's tattva darshana. That's seeing Krishna. So when it's our duty is not to, as someone looking for a spiritual master, which Krishna recommends, if you want to learn the truth, you approach somebody who is tattva darshana. So anyone, I can say, hey, I'm tattva darshana, you know, and you can just, here's my donation place, I can give you my bank account or something. You know, anyone can say that, but it's our duty to find that person. Our personal duty. Krishna gives that duty to us in the Bhagavad Gita, to find that person. Not to just say, okay, you know, by some external reason, you know, by some external thing, oh, they wear their tilak very nicely, they sit very nicely, they wear, you know, whatever it is. These are external things. We're looking for that person who is awaken in Krishna consciousness. And we know that, we see that person, we see His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. We see that him as that person. It's quite amazing, really, when you look at Prabhupada's life. I just, for anyone who doesn't listen to Srila Prabhupada, you have the most wonderful, because of great, great, great followers of Prabhupada. Prabhupada's followers are amazing. So many of them are amazing. We have access to hear Prabhupada speak on every subject. We have access to hear him speaking. It's amazing. Imagine Christians had the access to hear Lord Jesus Christ speaking, because in those days they had no facility to record. And by the great foresight of the devotees, and especially Ambarish Prabhu. Ambarish is Alfred Ford. He's Henry Ford's grandson. He became a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and one of the first donations he gave to the devotees was this really fancy reel-to-reel, or recorder, so that devotees could record. In those days that would have been a very expensive thing. And so devotees could record Prabhupada's words. And as a result, we have Prabhupada's words. We have he speaks on every subject, amazing discourse. So I was just listening yesterday, or a few days ago, in Vrindavan. Prabhupada was speaking on the nectar of devotion. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion. And Prabhupada was saying, he was saying that this point, that to be Krishna conscious, when Krishna is in the heart, when Krishna awakens, the desire to chant, the desire to hear about Krishna, the desire to read about Krishna, all this awakens in our heart. Whereas a devotee, the name of Krishna becomes so transcendental, so blissful. That's all they want to hear about. And yet, if we look at our own minds, if we're honest, sometimes we might have an attraction for hearing and chanting about Krishna. Other times we have an attraction, our mind becomes attracted to so many different aspects of Krishna's external energy. We get so much disturbance in our minds by different aspects of Krishna's energy. But as one advances more and more, they lose a taste for everything, because the taste for Krishna becomes so amazing. And Prabhupada said, for the first 70 years of my life, I did nothing. He said, I did nothing. Now, we know that's not true. We know that his life was dedicated he was preparing for his mission. We know that from when he met his spiritual master. This first time he met his spiritual master, he gave him the instruction to preach Krishna consciousness in the West. That was the first instruction he received. His spiritual master said, you are intelligent. What would you preach? I want you to preach this message in English. It was from the very first meeting. He gave him that instruction. But Prabhupada actually said, for the first 70 years I did nothing. Hare Krishna Mahaprabhu. For the first 70 years I did nothing. Can you imagine? Prabhupada said, and then by this ruchi, Prabhupada said. So Prabhupada explained that the weapon, if you look at how religion spread in the world, how do religions spread in the world? Bible in one hand, sword in the other hand. That's how religion spread in the world. And Prabhupada said, my sword was Harinam Ruchi, this taste. Ruchi means the taste of Krishna's chanting. That was what Prabhupada had. And that's something that we can imitate, but it's hard to achieve, that taste, because it's something that's beyond. Imagine, it's beyond even Paramatma realization. It's higher than Paramatma realization. To have this taste for chanting, this proper, like ruchi, fixed ruchi. So Prabhupada said, then I did everything. And if you look at what Prabhupada did from the age of 70, he traveled around the world 14 times. Has anyone ever traveled long distance? I do a lot of long distance travel. I have to for my work. I travel to the States a lot. I have to go to Australia. It's exhausting, horrible, I hate it. Prabhupada traveled around the world 14 times. He wrote more books than you could read in your life in that time. So, you know, this is not possible. It's not humanly. He did something that was not humanly possible. If we look, he did the impossible. And actually, even in our own lives, we sometimes find miracles. You know, we sometimes find like we come to Krishna consciousness and we're presented with no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and we think, and no sex for procreation or sex within marriage. And especially in the West, people think that's impossible. You know, we come from a world where that's the goal of life. It's like that is the goal of life. You know, those things. You know, so we're trying to do the impossible. And actually, Prabhupada was quite gentle with us. Sometimes we struggle with these things, and Prabhupada would say it's like if someone has a gun to your head. You know, so what do? Somebody has a gun to your head. You know. So we don't realize that. We don't realize that our mind is actually not who we are. We think we are the mind. We think we're the intelligence. So when we have a gun to our head from our mind and our intelligence, we think that's me. That's just me. I can't follow this because that's who I am. But, you know, and if we're honest, I can't speak for everybody, but if we're honest, to follow these principles is a miracle. It's a miracle, like that we are following, you know. So that's the miracle, and it goes beyond. It goes to the miracle of this ruchi, this taste for Krishna. And sometimes they say someone is mad for Krishna, you know, where everything, like we can imitate, and we see that many times where someone says, I give up everything, I leave my family, I renounce all these things. That's not the process. The process is, our taste is for Krishna is so much that we can't stop thinking every moment. We can't stop chanting, you know. The chanting actually goes on by itself, you know. So what we're doing, it's like the old cars, you know, where you wind the thing and eventually the engine starts. We're trying to wind and it's quite difficult to do. So I've been speaking the last half an hour or so without reading the purport because I knew everyone comes late. So I thought now I'm going to read the verse. So we have, we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita, and we're going to read from the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and there's 4 verses in a row where Krishna describes about his appearance in this world, and so I'm going to read the last of those, and if there's time I might read the translations for the other ones, but I'm going to read the purport for it. So Manu, is it okay if we go on a little bit? Yeah? So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So this is the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 9. Janma karma cha me divyam.
Janma karma cha me divyam.
Evam yo veti tatvada.
Evam yo veti tatvata.
Jaktva deham punar janma.
Tattva deham punarjanma.
Naiti mameti sarjuna.
Neti nameti sarjuna.
So many nice pronunciations. Well done. So many of you know the Bhagavad Gita. So the translation, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So Srila Prabhupada writes purports on these verses. I'm going to read his purport. So purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
The Lord descends from his transcendental abode is already explained in the 6th verse. One who can understand the truth of the appearance of the personality of Godhead is already liberated from material bondage, and therefore he returns to the kingdom of God immediately after quitting this present material body. Such liberation of the living entity from material bondage is not at all easy. The impersonalists and the yogis attain liberation only after much trouble and many, many births. Even then, the liberation they achieve, merging into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti of the Lord, is only partial, and there is the risk of returning again to this material world. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after ending this body, and does not run the risk of returning again to this material world. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the Lord has many, many forms and incarnations. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same, Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction. Although it is incomprehensible to mundane scholars and empiric philosophers, as stated in the Vedas, Eko Devo Nitya Lilan Urukto Bhaktya Vyapi Hridi Antaratma. That's my real pronunciation of Sanskrit. The one Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally engaged in many, many transcendental forms in relationships with his unalloyed devotees. This is a word Prabhupada used. He is unalloyed. It's like do you know what an alloy is? So a metal is an alloy. You know an alloy metal? It's a mixture of different metals. So we are alloyed. We are, sometimes we come for Krishna, sometimes we come for something else, sometimes, our mind is always mixed, but unalloyed means the person who doesn't, because of Krishna awakens in their consciousness, they remember Krishna. Therefore, all they can think of is Krishna. 24 hours a day, they can just remember Krishna. So I was sharing earlier on that yesterday I had to go and see my father because he's not well. But if I mention my father, I remember who he is. I can remember conversations. I can remember his voice. If I see him from behind, I can see who he is. It doesn't matter if I see the front, the back, if I hear him, even the smell, everything, I remember him. So what happens is when we practice spiritual life, we're looking at a book and we're reading, we're looking at a picture. So we're remembering the picture, but we have to remember the person. And the goal is to remember the person. So by like this I've shared it twice already, but while we're all here now, this in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto, there's a description of someone who's Paramatma realized, and they see Krishna everywhere. And this is not the highest form of realization. Bhagavan is the highest form. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti is the highest. Brahmeti we just described here. Someone who's impersonalist. So Krishna, this is genuine. If we wish to, we can worship Krishna's energy. We can say, okay, I want, and sometimes it's neti, it's not this, it's not this. We look at everything material and we reject it, and we're left with Krishna's energy. So that's okay, but it's not so high. For a devotee, for someone who remembers Krishna, this is not considered a very high thing. It's like when someone comes in, I was sharing earlier, when Manu comes into the room, I can feel Manu's here, And it's like we all have an energy about us, But Krishna's energy is unlimited. His energy is unlimited, so we can even enter into that energy. We can become one with that energy. And Prabhupada gives the example, of the mother. The child can go to the mother and say, I don't like this world at all. You brought me into this world, but I don't like it. And I want to go back, I want to enter back into your womb. And Prabhupada said, the mother can't do that, of course. She can't. But Krishna can. So if we want, we can enter into the Brahma Jyoti. But the problem is our nature is to act. We are people. We're always personal. So we're personal by nature. We're Satchit Ananda Vigraha, or we have a form of a knowledge, we have a form of bliss, we have a form of, we're eternal. Vigraha means for form. So, because we are personal, we need to act. And if we don't understand what spiritual activity is, then we come back into this world to perform material activity. Now in Kali Yuga, it's not even possible for most people to obtain Brahma, into the Brahma Jyoti. So people, they act as yogis and they act like yogis for a while. And then Prabhupada always gives the example, then you'll see they always end up opening hospitals, or doing something material. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, they want to act. So they try to say, okay, it's all one and it's all, but they need to act. So they end up acting in the material realm, on the material level. So the one Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally engaged in many, many transcendental forms and relationships with his unalloyed devotees. This Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord, who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculations, attains the highest perfectional stage of liberation. Simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can without a doubt attain liberation. The Vedic version, Tattvamasi, is actually applied in this case. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the Supreme, or who says unto the Lord, you are that same Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, is certainly liberated instantly, and consequently his entrance into the transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. In other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection. And this is confirmed by the following Vedic assertion. I'm not going to try this Sanskrit as well. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no alternative, because anyone who does not understand Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is surely in the mode of ignorance. Consequently, he will not attain salvation simply, so to speak, by licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey, or by interpreting the Bhagavad Gita according to the mundane scholarship. Such empiric philosophers may assume very important roles in the material world, but they are not necessarily eligible for liberation. Such puffed up mundane scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotee of the Lord. One should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection. So Prabhupada, sometimes he speaks very strongly, because for us, we have some faith in Krishna, but we don't know Krishna. But Prabhupada knows Krishna. So he knows very much what he is speaking, he has realized. So he knows the importance for us. He really knows the importance for us of really taking hold of Krishna. For example, we might take birth as a human. We may take birth in India, and we think, I am Indian, or I am human. But how long are we Indian, and how long are we human? We know it's not very long. We know that. So do we know where's next? Do we know that? We don't. And if we did, if we knew where we were going to be, we would have different bodies, most of us. We would choose something different. If we could choose which body we had, we would make some change. So we don't choose. So we appear as, I'm Irish in this life. I didn't choose it. So should I be proud to be Irish? I might be grateful for some reason, I don't know, but I might be grateful. But being proud is not, like, it's a form of madness, And unfortunately, especially in Kali Yuga, we are living in a crazy, crazy, crazy world, where the goals have been set. Who can become the richest person in the graveyard, isn't it? Who can be the most famous person in the graveyard? It's like, this is the goals of Kali Yuga, And yet, and somehow we become illusion, but that's okay. It's Prabhupada is very kind to us. Wherever we are in our life, we just try to see where we can move from here. It's not that we should never become discouraged. In spiritual life, we should never be discouraged. We should always be encouraged, you know. It's like, but encouraged to see things as they are, to see the reality, tattva darshana, to have truth, to see the truth. And in the beginning, to see the truth, the first part is to see that we're not God. That's the very first step. And even in India, that's quite difficult. Many people teach that we are all God. You know, imagine, like, how much of a mess have we made in the world? You know, even in our own lives, like, where are we going? You know, there was one famous scientist, and he said, I've studied and I know that everyone dies, you know, but somehow I thought there would be an exception in my life. For me, that was his famous last words. That was his, and he said, now what? Just as he was coming to the end of his life, he didn't see that he was going to die. So Dharmaraj, so anyone know who Dharmaraj is? King Yudhishthir Maharaj, one of the Pandavas. He's known as Dharmaraj. He's the king of Dharma. And he was asked, what is the most wonderful thing in this world? And he replied that the most wonderful thing in this world is that everywhere, everyone sees everybody dying, and somehow they think they'll live forever. That's the most wonderful thing. So because this world is eternal, and we are eternal, Krishna says, never was there a time when we didn't exist, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So we are eternal. So because our nature is eternal, we think we will be here forever. And so we are in what's called chanchala, the shifting platform, everything. Krishna says, Talasmi, time I am. Time I am the destroyer of these worlds. So Krishna comes into this world as time, and he keeps shifting us, shifting us, shifting us. So we are serving time in this world as a prison, in a sense. It's a spirit, I mean, everything comes from Krishna, so everything ultimately is wonderful. But it manifests from our consciousness as a prison. So we have to see, we're prisoners. We're all prisoners. So why are we here? Because we're serving time, isn't it? It's like if we say, okay, I have no time for this. You know, so everyone in this room is special to make time to hear about Krishna or to chant about Krishna. That's very, 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 very special and very rare in this world. But still, we don't have time, isn't it? Now we have to go, there's always something. We're serving time. So we serve Krishna indirectly as time instead of directly. And that's the nature of this world. So prison is like that. We serve people who go to prison, they serve time, isn't it? That's the expression. Serving time, you know. Now the difference is in this prison, the walls are form. So for the male, usually it's the female form. For the female, it's the male form. Our attraction is what keeps us here in this world. And it's a perfect prison. So we're considered to be eternally conditioned. In other words, we cannot get out. It's impossible. We're trying the impossible in here, all of us. We're trying the impossible. And so how does the impossible become possible? By the mercy of the Guru, the person who is tattva darshana, the person who is seeing Krishna, who's remembering Krishna. And we know that's, for us, that is Srila Prabhupada. We know we can tell, because we are not spiritual fully, we cannot see. Like to see the Guru, we have to be perfect. So it's a very hard thing to do. To find the Guru is very difficult. That is our duty. Krishna gives that to us. Not that he says, okay, this institution, this is a Guru, here's a Guru. He doesn't. He says, Tadvidi Pari Prasatena, we have to go search. That's for us. Just find a spiritual master. And they will teach you the truth because they're seeing the truth. So it's up to us. It's our duty to find that person, you know. And we know, we have faith that Prabhupada is on that level because we see by his action. So we're materially conscious, so we see his material action. So we see that 70 years of age, he traveled around the world 14 times. We see that he wrote so much literature. We see that he opened 100 massive temples. We see that he bought so, like the whole world knew about the Hare Krishnas. I spoke to someone today, this morning, and he was probably late 60s, and I said, do you remember the Hare Krishnas? And they were everywhere. Everyone remembers. When Prabhupada was here, the whole world knew of Hare Krishna. The whole world. And that's the Guru. So that's the nature. When someone becomes a devotee, they become attractive to the world. So anyway, so it just at the very beginning here it says, I'll just read it, because it said that in the beginning it said we've already discussed the appearance of Krishna in the 6th verse. So I'll very quickly finish on just reading the 6th verse. Does anyone remember what it is? Actually, there's 3 verses in a row that are very important. So I'll just read them. Ajo pisana vyayatma bhutanam mishparo pisan prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavyami atma mayaya. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So this is something that's hard for people in the West to understand, that Krishna, God, appears actually in this world. You know, they find that quite difficult, the concept of it. The idea that his son comes is something that is accepted, but that he comes himself is very difficult for people to understand. And even in India, it's quite difficult for people to understand, because there's a lot of times people imitate that. They claim to be Bhagavan, you know, or claim to be God, and who's come to this world. And people are fooled by that. It's one of the reasons why India is not as powerful as India should be. India should be the center of the world, really, and the most powerful place. But because of this, I think the fall of the Brahmins originally was the problem. And then as a result, people follow people who are pretending to be God, you know. So in text 7, Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutanam adharmasya tadat manam sridyam aham. Whenever and wherever there's decline in religious practice or descendant of art, and a predominant rise of religion, at that time I descend myself. So that's why Krishna goes on to say, someone who knows his appearance, they are immediately liberated. So Prabhupada said it's very difficult. It's a very difficult process, but it's very simple. So there was a time when Prabhupada was talking about Krishna consciousness, and he made this statement that a devotee always quoted to me before. Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is so simple you will miss it. So he didn't say it's so simple you might miss it. He said it's so simple you will miss it. So why are we missing it? Are we seeing Krishna? Is anyone here, hands up, anyone seeing Krishna? Anyone talking to Krishna? So until we're talking to Krishna, until we're seeing Krishna, until we're dancing with Krishna, until then we're missing it. So we have to remember, stay humble, we're missing it. We're still conditioned, we're still missing it. And our goal of our life is to find that person who's seeing it. And we have access, we have all of Prabhupada's lectures. We can hear from Prabhupada, we can read what he says. And we may not have faith, we may not have faith. We say, oh, so many gurus are coming in, this one and that one, and why is Prabhupada special? So you see the followers. Prabhupada, the name of Prabhupada means one whose feet the masters sit. At one whose feet the masters sit. And we see so many amazing personalities who follow Prabhupada. And we may not be perfect, they may not be perfect, but there are so many wonderful, wonderful people. And you see yourself how you change. you've got to see your own change. Prabhupada gives that point about spiritual life. He said, every time he talks about it, you're the one that sees it. If you see that I'm too attached, I'm attached to this world, and I can't give this up, I can't do that, we can't. It's a miracle. If we can follow properly, it's a miracle. At least I can say from the West anyway. I don't know, maybe with Indian bodies it's easier, I don't know. But it's a miracle. It's by Krishna's mercy that it can happen. So that's what we're looking for, and we get that mercy by calling out Krishna's names. And Prabhupada gives the example of when we have jaundice. Does anyone here have jaundice? Hands up, anyone ever had jaundice? Does anyone know what jaundice is? Okay, I had it once in Africa, I had jaundice. So you go completely yellow, and then when you taste sugar, it tastes horrible. It tastes horrible when you taste sugar. But the cure for jaundice is to eat sugar. And it's disgusting. And then you keep eating it and keep eating it, but it becomes sweet. And when it becomes sweet, then you know you're cured. So this is the same with this process, this chanting of Hare Krishna. It's so simple that we're calling to Krishna's names, and as we call them, it becomes sweet. And we know we're making progress when we just want to chant. So I shouldn't speak anymore, because Manu Prabhu is here, and I hope he'll lead some kirtan. I know you've been out on Harinam, but can you lead some little bit of kirtan? Do we have time? Yeah. Okay. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki.
Jai.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I didn't want to take up the time for chanting, but does anyone have any questions or comments or challenges to what I said? I'm gonna drink a bit more water. Or anything they'd like to you'd like to share from what was said or from what you've heard from Prabhupada? Anyone having difficulties? Anyone feeling angry with Krishna? Anyone feeling happy? Hands up, who's feeling happy? Okay, so this is great. This is a very nice Sangha group if everyone feels happy. So the goal of Krishna consciousness is to be happy. That's what's to be. And actually Rupanuga Prabhu was one of the first of Prabhupada's disciples who taught Krishna consciousness in the universities. And he actually started an accredited course in university to teach the Bhagavad Gita. And he arranged a program, and many of the leaders in the movement came from that program, you know. And actually he arranged a program for Prabhupada to speak at the university. And all the students came, like loads came, it was packed. And Prabhupada arrived to speak on the Bhagavad Gita. And the first thing the students said, "Are you happy?" That was when he said, "Is there any questions?" When one student asked, "Are you happy?" And Prabhupada said, "Yes, I'm happy." And then there was silence. And again Prabhupada said, "Yes, I'm happy." And there was still silence. And then the third time Prabhupada said, "Yes, I'm happy." And they believed him. Suddenly they believed him, and they could see he was happy all the time. And that's so important, you know, for people. People are looking to find something. You know, if we find that we're not happy, there's something wrong. You know, and we need to become happy in Krishna consciousness. So, yes, Prabhu.
In a road traffic accident, the person gets unconscious, and he has the ability to think of Krishna. Because normally at the time of death, if you think of a dog, you become a dog. If you think of a cat, you become a cat.
Yeah.
If you think of Krishna, you go back to Krishna.
Yeah.
What happens if a devotee in the road traffic accident and is in coma? And how is he going to think of Krishna?
So I'll repeat the question, I think, that Kota is asking, and it's a good point. Imagine someone has a horrific road accident and they die very quickly, very suddenly, out of nowhere. You know, the material world is a little bit like that. It's funny, we can die at any time. We don't know. And it can happen by surprise, where we can die. Someone said it's like if you're at a party and someone said, you can enjoy all you like, but at some point we're going to shoot you, and you don't know when. It's like, how do you enjoy the party, you know? It's like, but you can have great fun. There's all you have to drink and whatever you want to eat, and enjoy the party, but at some point we're going to shoot you, and you don't know when. So the material world is like that. It's like a, we unfortunately, we all, if we live long enough, we get old, we get disease. You know, I was with as I mentioned, with my father, and he's gone through a lot of problems, my goodness. He even said himself, like, there's no future in old age. You know, it's not nice. Disease is not nice, death is not nice. But anyway, to answer your question, and I don't know if I'm answering this quite from a Vedic point of view or from a, but there's a period of reflection of your life when you die, and time is very relative, you know. We know that someone could, if you're interested in doing something, time flies, it just goes boom, so fast, and you're doing something and you're enjoying, and next thing it's like time has passed so quickly. Or there's times where you're like, you know, you're looking at the clock and every minute seems like an eternity, you know. So time is very relative like that. So even if something appears to happen very quickly, we still get to reflect on our life. And I've heard it described, but I don't know where, that we see our life from other people's point of view, you know. But anyway, so whatever it is, like basically we know, the Prabhupada describes that like the flower, the aroma of the flower is carried on the wind. So if we in the air, so if we go into a room and there's really nice aromatic flowers, we can smell those flowers by their presence. So similarly, when we go from one body to the next, the aroma, it's like we're carried like that with our mind and intelligence, we're carried into the next body. So whatever we obtain by our action, you know, if we act like pigs or dogs or trees or humans or gods, demigods, you know, demigods are also jivas, they're also people like us. Then we take that birth, whatever it is, and Krishna says, Abrahma Bhuvanaloka, from the top planet, from Brahmaloka, all the way down to the bottom, they're all places of misery. So why are they miserable? Because they're temporary. You know, even when you're having a good time, if it's temporary, it's got to end. And then what's next? We don't know. But we're not temporary. We're eternal. So until we get ourselves into an atmosphere which is eternal, we do suffer. You know, so anyway, so the point is that our whole life up to that point, it's not just like, okay, you're at the last minute, you get some sort of, you know, if you just happen to be chanting at the last minute by accident or something, but it's your whole life that carries you to the next life.
One more point. Do you mind if I ask the audience a question?
Do you want to take the microphone?
No, just...
Okay, okay. I'll repeat it then.
No, yeah. How many of you are between the age of 37 and 43? If you put your hands up. Don't be afraid, put your hands up. You're not afraid. How many? The reason for asking the question is, that is the age, the span between 37 and 43 is a very crucial time where people can just die suddenly. We just had within this month, there were 2 persons died, and they were all about 41 or 42. And I think my advice to them would be is that they should have a complete medical. And I can help them to send them to the right place to get a complete medical.
Well, there you go.
Send them other place.
Thank you, Ananda Prabhu. So yeah, this world is temporary, and in Kali Yuga it's even more temporary than usual. And you know, but we're very fortunate that we do have the chanting of Krishna's names. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says there's no hard and fast rules. So there's many names of Krishna, many names. You know, it's our journey. We're all on our own journey. We're all responsible for our own journey. You know, it's not that we hand responsibility over. Even Prabhupada says, you can have the topmost guru, but if you don't walk the path, you don't get there. You don't. It doesn't. It's we're the ones that are responsible for our spiritual life. The guru is the one that gives us the directions if we want the directions. It's not like some electricity that they give us Krishna consciousness. They give us the direction because they walked the direction. They hope that we will walk the direction, but they can't force that. So we can't say just because someone's a disciple of a great guru, they must be a great devotee. That's not always the case. It's up to the individual what path we choose, what we choose, and we get that result. And so it's very important that we take responsibility for our own lives and we help each other and we be kind to each other. You know, it is important that we support each other, we're kind to each other, we help each other, and when we have difficulty, we see it as an opportunity to do service. When someone's struggling some way, we can help, you know, if we can help. And obviously the help we're giving is, it's very nice to say we can bring them to the doctor to get a test. But we're talking about helping our real self. Our real nature is as spirit souls. And if we can help each other, for somebody who's awakened like Prabhupada, he can speak very, very forcefully because he's seeing what he's saying. He can say, you must serve Krishna, because he knows it's true. Whereas if I say that, I'm just imitating. I can say, look, I'm on the path. And I've had some experiences in Krishna consciousness that are more than any material experience, but I am certainly not awakened to Krishna consciousness. You know, I hope one day, by the help of the devotees, you know, to remember Krishna. So that's all I can help anybody with. I can't. But when you hear Prabhupada speaking, sometimes it's amazing. He's like always, you know, very sure, absolutely sure that it is in our interest to remember Krishna, and he gives us how we can do it. And it's not coming from him; it's coming through the parampara. Coming from spiritual master, from perfectly realized spiritual master to perfectly realized spiritual master to perfectly realized spiritual master, all the way down from Prabhupada, and he's giving that to us. And for us even to understand Prabhupada is very difficult, because he sounds always like contradiction. If you listen, Prabhupada perfectly understands this point of the Chincha Veda Abheda Tattva. Chincha Veda Abheda Tattva means Chincha is inconceivable, Beda is difference, and Abeda is oneness, Tattva is truth. So Beda Abeda, so when something is Beda Abeda, how do we understand? Some people say we're all one with God. Some people say, no, we're different, we're different. Like even in the West, the science is like we're all one, it's all energy. And the religion is like, no, God is up there and we're down here. But actually the truth is both. Simultaneously, we're all one with God and different. You know, so how do we understand that? It's chincha. It means that over many, many lives, for eternity, we can increase our understanding of that. So when sometimes we hear Prabhupada, we hear contradiction because we don't understand. Sometimes Prabhupada talks about being Hindu. He says, I'm a Hindu, and yet many times he says that we're not this body, we're spirit souls, we're not, you think you're Hindu, I think I'm Christian, or whatever. This is all just delusion, it's all temporary. But yet he speaks on both, so do you say he's contradictory? No, it's the Chincha Veda Veda Tattva. We're not this body, and yet we are this body, because we have a mind. Atma in Sanskrit means the mind, it means the intelligence, it means the soul. So, you know, even to understand Prabhupada, sometimes we need to find a teacher. We need somebody who can connect us to Prabhupada. But it's up to us to find that person. That's our goal, that's our duty. So, anyway, I just wish everyone all the best. Yeah.
Suppose we do know we have a person, we have a guru, but how do we keep ourselves disciplined enough, focused enough to keep walking towards Vidivya Jyoti, irrespective of whether we are attaining something in that Krishna consciousness or not? even if we are failing, even if we are not getting anything, how do we keep ourselves disciplined enough to keep walking towards it, sir?
Well, first of all, be gentle. You know, we have to be kind to everyone, including ourselves. So kindness goes a long way, you know. The material world is designed in such a way to fool us. You know, it is fooling us. And Prabhupada made that point. He said it's like if someone has a gun to your head, like someone was criticizing a devotee for not following, and Prabhupada said, well, yeah, but they have a gun to their head, you know. So it's not easy. It's definitely not an easy process. And so, you know, the instruction that I was given, and I follow it very badly, I fail many times, but the instruction that I was given was to hear from Prabhupada. That was the instruction. And because even if someone is a guru, Prabhupada is the founder acharya and we have access to hear from him. We can't hear from Bhaktivinoda Tagore, we can't hear from Kishore Das Babaji. There's some lectures from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I think, but Prabhupada, there's thousands of lectures. So if we're not listening, if we're serious, we have the opportunity to hear and keep hearing. And it's like that jaundice after a while, that it's like if anyone never listened to music. I used to like music when I was young. I always liked music, you know. And I could quote Bob Dylan or whatever music, you know. But it doesn't matter if it was my favorite music in the world, I would become bored, totally bored of it. And in fact, it'd be like torture. Imagine being left in a room and played the same music over and over. It's like torture. You can listen to Prabhupada forever, and it gets better and better and better. And that's one of the reasons why you can see it's Shraddha, it's sound. You can see that it's coming from a perfect platform. You will never, ever, ever have enough. Now, in the beginning, it might be distasteful because it's jaundice, we're ill, but it becomes nectar, and that never goes. It never goes. So even if you don't speak English, we can still hear Prabhupada, and eventually we will speak English, you know, and we'll know. And Prabhupada's English is amazing. It's like this unalloyed, you know, this pointing name, or even devotional service. Prabhupada coined that. Bhakti means devotion, but Prabhupada coined it as devotional service. So it's like love, you know. What does love mean? It's a verb, isn't it? Some people think love is a feeling, but love is what you do for somebody. That's love. So Prabhupada gave us devotional service. So if we love Krishna, all we want to do is act for him. There's nothing else. But because we don't, we struggle, you know. And so it's good to know where you are. Like, if you have a map, not you, I didn't mean you, but us, you know. If we have a map and we say, it says you are here, it doesn't matter because we have a map. You know, whereas if we start to think, oh, I'm here and I'm next to Krishna, and next thing I'll dance with Krishna and the gopis, and yet we're somewhere way down here on the map. You know, so the first thing we need is self-realization. We need to know where we are, you know, and sometimes that's quite difficult because the truth can be quite hard, you know. Why the envy that's in us is quite difficult to see at times, you know. And so material goodness is not Sudasattva. Material goodness is Sattva. Raja, Tama, Sattva are all gunas. They're all binding us. So even Sattva, material Sattva, it's like, I'm so good, I think I'll stay here. You know, it's okay. You know, so we're looking for Sudasattva, and Sudasattva is not the same as Sattva. So, yeah, anyway, so I don't want to, I'm hoping there's time for kirtan, I'm sorry, let's keep going on. Hare Krishna. We'll talk later, right? We need to kirtan.
That's what the audience said.
Yeah, later. Okay. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Oh, Premanande.
Haribo.
Okay.
Jai.
Let's thank His Grace Ananda Prabhu by chanting 3 times Haribo. Haribo! 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 Hare Krishna.
निकल गया। हरे कृष्ण। आगे ले लो, आप बैठ रहे हो।
हाँ मैं बैठ के ही निकलूँ।
आगे
की बजायो जयो गंगा चांदे आरती का शोभा Hare
Hare Iskcon Dublin ki. Ananda ki. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki. Prem Zagaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Gira Govardhan ki. Vrindavan Dham ki. Mayapur Dham ki. Jagannath Puri Dham ki. Jamuna Maya ki. Ganga Maya ki. Tulsi Devi ki. Bhakti Devi ki. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki. Rihat Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution ki. Iskcon Ireland ki. Go, Premanande! All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Guru and Guru. Hare Krishna. So just before we have the Nishingan Arti, just a couple of announcements. Actually, we're going to have a bit more Harinam tomorrow. Is anybody interested in coming on Harinam tomorrow? Haribol! Haribol! I had quite a large crowd today. We had about 100, 150 people out dancing and chanting, and we didn't have to pay for a big hall or anything. They just came. So we're going to try to do the same tomorrow. There's going to be probably maybe a few people less, but I can assure you, some people will be still hanging out, and they will be loving to chant the holy name and dancing and so on. They were so happy today. So many people chanted. It was quite amazing. So that is our goal, is to get as many people chanting as we can. The other announcement that I wanted to make was we are just starting now our final push to try to get our land, which is planning for a building outside Dublin. And I don't know if everybody knows the price was roughly £1 million. Now basically we're trying to negotiate a lot less. Our solicitor, who's a devotee, wonderful devotee called Gornatai, he's going to hammer away at the vendor to try to knock him down in the price like anything. And in the meantime, we have got a loan from the bank of £500,000 towards the building. So we have collected 91,000. So we got 591,000 towards our goal. It means we're a bit short. Is anyone good at mathematics? We're a little bit short. But actually, we know that, if Krishna is the controller, if Krishna wants this to happen, it will happen. But at the same time, he wants to see us trying to make our darndest. How's that word? We have to try our best. Absolutely, completely try everything to try to make up that gap. And it started today with Govinda Dasi and Arina. They were doing some wonderful cake prasadam distribution, bake sale. And I'm just going to hand over to her now because she's going to tell us how it went, I think. I hope.
Well, thank you, Prabhu. It's not that I just wanted to say how it went, but we did raise €523. wonderful Mataji Irina who was leading this. Agninayani Manjari here. Yoga Maya, who is not here, but her cookies went first. Everything she cooked, and she's amazing. You probably know her. She's an amazing Mataji who bakes wonderful things. So anyway, and also we have a couple of boxes left that we didn't sell because we were just cold, and those strange people started to approach us, so we decided to come in. And then one devotee, one Ukrainian wonderful devotee, Vladislav, he bought the whole box. So we have 2 boxes left. They're like muffins are €3 each. In case you wanted to, bring something home, you feel free to do that. So we have just a little bit left. So anyway, and also another announcement that on the 14th of April we're going to have like a charity lunch, which will be invitation only. We can only take 40 people here at Govinda's. It will be like a charity lunch, again, towards this project Manu Prabhu was talking about. So we're planning to raise at least 2,000 grand in one day. So please come. The announcement will be on the in our chat group. So anyway, if you feel like, coming, associating with devotees or non-devotees even, and you get some nice gifts. We have Swaha Mataji who's contributing a free sound bath session towards this. We have Adlai Prabhu here who wants to contribute €150 worth of things, so you can get some goodies as well when you pay. Anyway, we also have some artists who want to donate their art, and again we might have like a little auction or something. Anyway, it so sounds like a game, but everything counts. As I said, just small cookies, and we made €523, which will go towards this project. So anything, every little helps, as they say in Tesco's. Thank you very much.
And there's going to be a hamper as well.
Oh, a hamper as well. We're going to have like a raffle, We're going to win. We're going to win a whole, basket of goodies that Adirai Prabhu is going to collect for us. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so thank you very much.
So we're just going to sit, Irina Mataji and myself and Agninayani Manjari. The very first table, 2 boxes you will see. So when we have a machine as well. And cash, anything we'll take. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. And so we just will continue with our prayer for protection to Lord Nrsimhadev. May he protect everybody's spiritual life so that they will go all the way back to the spiritual world in this lifetime. And we won't have to wait any longer. So this is the prayer for Lord Nrsimhadev, and Ananda Hari's going to say. Yes, Lord.
Namaste Narashinhaya. Srila Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanande. Sorry,
Okay, thanks everybody for coming. So, is there any further announcements? No. Okay, so we're going to head down towards the restaurant where there's some wonderful prasadam down there. Hari Bol.
There's going to be kirtan afterwards. Who wants to join?
And there's kirtan afterwards. And tomorrow.
How are you?
Sorry, I missed it.
Actually, I wanted to meet like me too. Like you spoke a lot about you. Thank you. Actually, I was like you were in state right now, so I was not able to come early to attend your lecture.
Oh, no problem. No problem. You didn't miss. What